different talks during this session. And the first one was very dedicated to CBD. And she talked very in depth about CBD in general.
Which is?
Oh my gosh.
Cannabis
Cannabis oil.
Yeah, I can't say that.
Part of the plant. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm sure a lot of people, most people have heard CBD, but I just want to make sure.
And there's two different versions of CBD. There's the THC, which is the kind that gets you high, and then the CBD is basically what doesn't get you high. It's just
right. But it's the plant, and there's two. Right. Okay. So there we go. Now go ahead. Sorry.
So, she talked about all the different things and different studies. What we were seeing is there's not a lot of research behind it, as far as, saying that it actually helps with pain. There isn't, and I'm surprised even at this point, because it's been a hot topic for I would say the last 3 to 5 years, or is it even longer than that?
Well, Deb, I was thinking about it today. I don't know what year it was, but I know that we were at an ACR, and they used to have, when they used to have the sessions for this. Yes. They were at 6:30 at night once people had already left.
So after everyone's gone and left. Yes.
And we would say, and we watched them, and we'll have to go back and look. There were studies that were showing it, and actually shout out to Bridget, who is one of our very long-term volunteers and knows everything there is under the sun about this. She runs the Cannapet. That's what my dog uses. The CBD pills. Sorry, Bridget. The Cannapatient Connection. She has a nonprofit, and they have a lot of resources, and that she's done several talk shows on our Arthritis Voices 360 talk show on this. So we have downloadable materials that we can share. But I know that there has been some research done, so I'm going to circle back.
Yeah, there has been some,
share.
But it's still under research, I think, at this point.
Sure.
And she was talking about, again, topical, and she talked about topical CBD. She talked about transdermal CBD, and
which is the topical.
Well, it is, but what it is like putting it on a patch. And again, it has to have a method to get through the skin, to get into the deep muscle tissues and things like that. But I'm surprised, even at this point, there isn't more research on just the transdermal and things like that. But anyways, I'm just kind of giving a brief synopsis and then we'll dig in. So she talked far and wide, but again, just showed studies that just really weren't confirming that it was very efficacious. Understood. Yeah, just something that really worked for pain management. So the second talk was very much about acupressure and acupuncture. And he talked in depth about that. And I think the biggest conversation that came out of his talk was how our insurance companies just aren't covering. US. Yes, in the United States aren't covering. Again, and I think the first person, she was from Europe, and again, she definitely went into the variations of US versus Europe, and again, US is far behind where the Europeans.
They mentioned that acupuncture, I believe they mentioned Germany is starting to cover it through their insurance, and I think there was another example, but I don't quite remember. So it's starting to change. Acupuncture has been researched that,
and people are finding it very useful in, some of their alternative medicine treatments. But sadly, when it's coming out of pocket, when you're paying for medications, something's got to go.
Yeah. Just I'm looking at my notes on the acupuncture, and it's funny because I like to highlight. It's why I'm looking over here, and I like to highlight things while I'm in the session in a different color so I can quickly look at them. But then, of course, one bullet that's not blue, I just found, I should have. And This I found fascinating. I said fascinating instead of interesting. Did you catch that?
Yes, you're good.
So,
You're changing.
I'm trying to expand our terminology away from interesting. But one of the things that he said is a reason why they feel acupuncture may be so highly successful is that there's a lot of studies that show brain activity happening during the acupuncture process, and it could be in part activating and stimulating the brain in the area, or they've seen it stimulating in the area that has the relaxing effect on the central nervous system.
See, how cool is that? Yeah.
So that's just showing, I mean, that's data. That's showing you that it's so, and I'm going to go back to a year ago, I think it was, I don't know if it was ACR or if it was EULAR, but it was all about the brain body connection and how the brain, you have the different areas of the brain that perceives the pain, and it's here before it's here.
Yep.
And so that makes sense. That correlates.
It does. And that was, again, that session. Yeah, that session in itself was one that fascinated all three of us. And we kept talking about, it's all in your head. And it literally is, because it's your brain.
Yeah, we gotta revisit that session with the brain and body connection, because that was just really
nice together,
eye-opening. Really eye-opening. And then the only other thing that I had mentioned for the acupuncture in particular was, as they were talking about studying how it has different effects on pain in people and the brain activity, they did it again. They threw out precision medicine, and I just went, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's just everywhere. And again, our organization recognized precision medicine being the answer back in 2015 when we started we won an innovation and research award that initiated because we were trying to figure out ways that patients and industry researchers and pharma could communicate better to influence drug development. That's how it started.
Right.
But we had a second outcome in that, and it was because we realized that more patients had to have a voice, and also that we're all unique and we're all individual. And why are we not responding to the same treatment? So it was all sort of this hypothetical thought process. And we realized through the focus groups that were patient-led, by the way, I did go to college courses and was taught to be a professional focus group moderator and to run those. And what we realized through those were patients were saying across the board, pharma and non-pharma. There's no magic pill. It's not one size fits all. And that was really the moment that we said, it's got to be precision medicine. I mean, this has got to be the way that we go if we're going to match patients with the right treatment at the right time, but also long-term save money. And so we have been working towards that, honestly, since 2015. And we have some projects that came up in 2017, 2018 about this. And we've been like screaming it from the rooftops. And it's everywhere. Literally every session, I feel
it's
like
catching on.
It's finally here. And we had so many people, even up to months ago, say, oh, it's so far out. It's so far out. You all are you've been getting into this way ahead. We're talking 10 years. And I just want to go, oh.
Yeah.
Like a little bit like I told you so, but kind of like I warned you so.
Yeah. It was kind of like, yeah, we do it. So we feel very cutting edge. But anyway, other things about the acupuncture, is there anything that we missed? Is the highlights from that?
Yeah,
Have either of you tried acupuncture? Because I can't imagine paying money to do that.
It's not that I don't want to. I just, my health insurance would not cover that.
I've actually experimented with it. So I've been in like a conference, and there's been somebody, and she went around for volunteers that wanted, so I had like a needle in the top of my head, like up here. And where else did she, tops of my shoulders. So again, she put like 3 of them in, and I could feel a difference from just three little needles that were in me. And if anybody's asking, did it hurt? Not at all. They are like hair-like thinness. And it's like she puts it and she taps it, and that's it. And that's as deep as it needs to go.
It makes sense though, because think about how small nerves are, but they hurt.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever pinched a nerve, or people who have fibromyalgia, or you know, it's just these little teeny things. So if you know where to pinpoint,
right,
it makes sense. Is all I'm saying.
He had a structure that was a human body, and it had all the points all over it, like where you
call them pathways.
Yes,
or something.
That's exactly what they're called. And there's hundreds of them all over our body. That was just the front version of what he was showing. And, there's a whole mess on your back too and stuff. So yeah, it was interesting. Again, just knowing other things. And, even like massage therapy, some massage therapy is being covered from some insurances these days in the United States. I'm speaking of specifically. And it's coming. I feel like,
I don't think I've looked into that, but I will.
Yeah, because again, you don't know what you don't know about your own insurance until you go looking.
True.
Yeah. So I think that was the bottom line on that one, was just the coverage.
And it kind of circles back to pain management, improving quality of life. And that, it all gets back to, we want a quality of life. So
yeah, absolutely. And then I'm gonna do the transition of going back to the CBD, and there are a lot of studies that do show that it induces alterations in brain activity. So while we're talking about the brain activity, that to me was a little eye-opening. Because, and I do know that the side effects can occur with any dose of CBD, which they said, because Bridget, who I referenced earlier, has said the same thing on our talk show. But I guess as a person that's used CBD drops, it was so subtle. I never felt anything. I never felt any sense of like feeling, like a medicinal high or anything like that. But that doesn't mean it wasn't changing something in my brain. I just didn't feel anything. So that was caught me off guard. But I think what really we all found the most fascinating was there was a Brazilian study in particular that they cited and said that they showed people when they started CBD that they had increasing abnormal liver function tests. And then when they took them off, it went away. And so that inspired me to submit a question, which was asked. Woo! It was
answered.
And they read it and answered it. And basically I said, look, wait a minute. We're on all of these medications, particularly you think methotrexate, that's the one that came to my mind initially, and that we know are hard on the liver. And I know as a person living with these diseases, I didn't know that CBD could be hard on the liver. It never would have honestly occurred to me. And that is something I think almost every rheumatologist, every patient needs to be aware of when you're making that disease management treatment plan. If a person is on one of these drugs that could increase liver enzymes, I think the next question should be, are you using CBD?
Right, because she brought up that thing of drug interactions, and that's where she got very specific to that there are some drugs. So again, CBD being a drug and methotrexate, for instance, being a drug, those drug interactions exist, and you need to look into those. And people were making comments.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people would realize that.
No,
that they should mention CBD. They probably, it's like, oh, it's safe. It's supplement. I don't have to worry about prescription interaction. Yeah.
Right. So, and it's everywhere. When we talk about everywhere, it's everywhere. And that's actually funny. That's the name of one of the episodes we did with Bridget, is CBD. It's everywhere. That was the name of it. But because you see it, you can't go. I mean, I know, not recently, but I know a couple years ago going to a local festival, and people, they're selling CBD water, and you go to the grocery store, and we know that it's not all, this higher grade, medical grade type of thing, but the point is, you see it everywhere, so it normalizes it,
right,
to the point that you don't think about it interacting with anything.
right. I had not, and that was again something new learned, definitely during that session for sure.
So that was, I think, all I had, other than there was one study that they did a lot. And again, I've said this in some of the other debriefs if you've been here with us, but essentially when you go to these sessions, it's not like you go to a conference and they're presenting, like you have a speaker and they're presenting research. It's a research convention. So all of the sessions are based, most of the sessions, some of them have like conversational components, but most of them, they're presenting research and the discussion is based on that research. So in this in particular, there was a study that they were using CBD for clinical pain using the transdermal. So that's what you were mentioning earlier, Deb.
Right.
And it said that it was for osteo. We don't cover osteoarthritis, the degenerative, at our organization, but regardless, it was for osteo and psoriatic arthritis, which we do. And it was compared to a placebo, which means it was something that did not contain the CBD. And there was no statistically significant effects regarding sleep quality, depression, anxiety, or pain. That surprised me.
Yeah, I agree.
It did. It really surprised me. And I would like to ask Bridget to weigh in. So I'm gonna kind of put a plug in that for my comments, if you all want to add to it, and just say, is that more specific to transdermal? Because they didn't pull up any like, oh, if you do the drops, or there's so many ways that you can use CBD. So I just want to clarify that was a study using the transdermal method.
Yeah.